Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Lee Harrington.
I found myself in London with nowhere to live. I was informed that my fiancé, my partner, my person I was in relationship, and for those of you who like a little bit of kinky stuff, my master, I was informed that he had broken up with me and that that's just what it was, having moved to London to be with him. Now, for those of you who have been in traumatic breakups or even the casual breakups that some of us have, the voice came up. And the voice said, "You are unworthy. No one will ever love you. You might as well die. You are unlovable." You had the voice too. Like it's. You don't want to talk about it? It's okay. That's fine. My voice can have tea with your voice and it'll all be fine. So friends, when you have that voice appear, sometimes try to help. And so some of my friends called me up and said, "Do you want to come play D&D? How about Shadowrun? We'll roll some dice. You know, we'll drink some Dr. Pepper. It'll be great." And so I said, "Sure. That'll be fine. I'll come and be a nerd." But my soul was still saying, "You are unworthy." And my friends also said, "Hey, do you want to," because that wasn't working, right? They said, "Do you want to come to an orgy?" And I'd been experimenting with the whole kinky sex thing for, 4 or 5 years at that point, and I'd done that a little bit. And so I said, "Sure. Whatever. I'll come to your orgy." Because I figured if you've never been to an orgy, there's often a person there who's a lube boy or a lube girl. And so I thought I'd go as a lube girl. Because at the time, for those of you who don't know, I'm transsexual. And so at the time, I was like a 38 double D, 28 42 when I was tight corseted. Yeah, it's good stuff. I was in the porn industry after this story takes place. And so I dressed up in a cute outfit and showed up with my bottle of lube. But what was happening inside was, no one loves me. I am unlovable. Yeah. And so I kept trying different things, but nothing worked. The story just kept playing out over and over again. I am unlovable. I have been abandoned. I am broken. Who would ever want to be with someone like me? I've moved to England to be with the love of my life, and I am unworthy. And so when a friend of mine said, "Hey, do you want to come to a kinky sex event?" I said, "Whatever. I don't really care," because that emptiness, that hollowness, that it sucked inside me and pulled me apart. I was suffocating under the weight of it. I was hollow, and the echo just kept echoing. But I tried, right? So I got on the little white keds and the schoolgirl skirt and the little sweater and put my hair into pigtails and got all dressed up and said, "I'm gonna try." And so I went to the party. It was one of those private parties, because if you're ever interested in kinky sex, nowadays you can hop on the internet, but at the time you could hop and look into magazines, and there would be advertisements for different things. And in London, it was Club Submission or Skin 2 or Torture Garden. But this was a private party called Neverwhere, where you got an invite from somebody who'd gotten an invite, who knew the person putting it on. It was not something you could just hear about. And I had some social connections, so we'd gotten this passed on to us. And I showed up. It was in one of those row houses. you watch the various British sitcoms, and it's like the all row of all brown houses with the little tiny pipes that come out the top that you expect really nice people to be living inside. And there were very nice people living inside. And they'd taken their bedrooms and put them into different themes. And so I wandered inside, and we went into this one run that was all school boys themed. So there was the little table, and there was harsh mistresses who were there to tell you that you were a very naughty boy. And the very naughty boys said, "Oh no." And I'm just rolling my eyes, right? Because the voice in my head is saying, "This is bullshit. No one really likes anyone else. Anyway, no one will ever want to play with you. You are unlovable. You are broken." And so we went to the wrestling room, where cute little gay boys are wrestling with other cute little gay boys. But the voice echoed over and over and over again. But I kept trying. And so my friend who took me there, and I kept wandering from space to space, and there was a sign on one of the walls that said, "Tonight, caning competition." And caning is that activity where you get hit with little sticks on your ass for a erotic response. And I said, I totally should not go into that room because with my luck, I'll end up volunteering. So he did what all true friends do, which was lovingly tripped me into the room as we wandered by. And I stumble, right, my way into this space, at which point I see the very fierce German femdom who said, "Are you here for caning competition? Yeah?" And she's wearing these 17-inch stiletto heel boots of doom that I've only ever seen in John Willie cartoons, where it's just like this, but she looks at me. And I go, "Yes." And she said, "You have partner for caning competition? Yeah." And the voice comes up and says, "You have no partner. You are broken, you are lovable, you are a horrible human being." But I was in such a place of embarrassment that is not what came out of my mouth. What came out of my mouth was, "No." And so she looks around the room and says, "Will anyone partner with this American girl? Yeah." And the room of perverts parts like the Red Sea. And out of it comes this very beautiful man in tall leather boots and a black kilt and a black leather vest and a very poofy black shirt, black curls, and almond color skin. And in a very thick Scottish accent, he said, "I'll work with her." And I say this because I'm not going to torture you with my Scottish accent. It sounds vaguely Russian, and that's just weird. And he said, "I will." And so they lined us up in this row of spanking benches, which are these pieces where it's like a padded top, and it's got like these knee pieces that you're supposed to like do this on with your feet up in the air because your ass is just out for the entire world to see, as you do. And they lined us up in a row and put numbers on our butts with a big black Sharpie pen. And I proudly rocked the number 4. Right? Right? And in my head is still that thing, but at this point, it's just weird. The surrealism is starting to replace the voice. Because it's just gotten weird. Here I am on a spanking bench, ass up in the air, the number 4 written on my butt, a fierce German femdom giving all of the rules, this beautiful, dark, beautiful almond skin, Scottish accented man who looks like a porn version of a guy out of a Renaissance fair. It's just gotten strange. And she says, first round is precision, yeah? And with that, she says, start. And the sound is whap, 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 whap. Now, that was the noise. My internal response was vaguely, fuckity, fuck, fuck, fuck. But then it was done. And the German femdom is now going around with a measuring tape and measuring the distance between every bright red strike across my number 4 ass. And in that moment, there is this thing that starts to happen in the brain where it starts to melt. And you enter into an altered state of consciousness. Because we are in the Twilight Zone. And she announces the second round, which is the speed competition, yeah? The speed competition where in 1 minute they will count with a little clicker how many times they can hit your butt. Now, there's a part of me that thinks I should have stopped at this point and gone, I don't think I know his name. But the world has gone weird at this point, and so it doesn't really occur to me to ask that question. My brain just says, ugh. And so it starts. And what I feel is not just the searing pain of wood across my flesh over and over and over again. What I also feel is him pushing up against my body, his cock slowly getting harder, his hand wrapped around my midsection, pushing into me so that every single time the cane strikes my ass, I feel him pushing into me. I feel his want, his need, his desire. I feel my want, my need, my desire, my longing, my hunger, and then it stopped. Because it was the speed round. It was kind of canis interruptus, as you will. The third round, she says, is freestyle round, yeah? And with that, they start, and all of us go into our own personal journeys. It turns into a scenario of desire where I feel his hand run up my back, grab my hair, pull me into him as the wood strikes over and over again. Where I become part of his journey, and I melt away, not in that surrealism, but in that point of beauty. Where I become one with the universe, but also one with him. And it's not some story. It's no longer an echo. It falls away, and it is beautiful, and it is perfect, and it melts. We lost horribly. Because I was American. And for those who do not know, with the classical cultures of kinky sex internationally, because I'm sure most of you know, right? I'm sure most of you know, but for the few of you who don't, Americans tend to be auditory in our desires. We read upon our lovers that they are enjoying themselves because they right? While if we are engaging in SM in classical caning forms, in English caning. The response is, or perhaps, 1, ma'am, thank you, ma'am. 2, ma'am, thank you, ma'am. And I was not a good caning bottom because my voice echoed out into the room next door. And my friend who'd come with me came into the room and he watched as the voice faded away. Because in that moment, I realized that try and try and try again, I found it in the most unlikely and surreal of places that I had value. And that I could find love again, even if it was for a quarter of a second. That I saw that echo up from the earth and down from the sky, that I could be lovable and that I could connect one more time. And my hope is for every one of you that has that voice, that you'll try and try again too. Because it comes in the most unlikely of places. Thank you.